All right, hey Vikings fans, welcome in to another episode of the Skol Hop. I'm Evan.
And I'm Austin.
We're just a couple of dudes from Iowa. We like drinking beer, talking about the Vikings.
Yeah, we do. And the beer we tried tonight was a really good beer from Laketime Brewery, and it definitely held its own.
Yeah, it did. And we also covered a lot of pretty big headlines from Vikings world recently.
Yeah, I was surprised with the calendar being the way it is, the dark time in the NFL news cycle. I was surprised by how much we had to talk about.
And I was surprised at how much I like this beer.
Yeah, it was great.
Really good beer, really good conversation. Grab a cold one, join us.
Skol.
Skol.
We just want to say thank you to episode sponsor Big Top Ventures for sponsoring today's episode. If you, listener and viewer, are looking to take a trip to an all-inclusive resort in Mexico or Jamaica, go ahead and reach out to our friends over at Big Top Ventures. You can do that. We'll put it up on the screen like we always do by sending an email to them at bigtopventuresllc@gmail.com and just let them know, hey, I'm looking to take a trip. Give them a couple of details about when you want to go and maybe how many people, and they'll take care of the rest. They'll get you hooked up with the best rate possible, and yeah, it's a great time. I went to Jamaica in, when was it? Was it
like a month ago?
Yeah,
wasn't
it's
it?
just last month.
May.
Yeah, it was May, and then I will be going again to another resort here in just a few weeks. So I obviously like what they do, and they're good people. So thank you, Big Top Ventures.
Yes, thanks. We also have some beer that
I'm
we're gonna
super
try.
excited for this one.
New brewery to the show.
Yeah, I don't think we've had them before.
I don't think we have either. And a beer that I think you're going to really like, and I'm going to like it too for sure, but this is definitely in your neck of the woods. This is Laketime Brewery out of Clear Lake, Iowa, and we're going to try their Tight Lines Double IPA. So it's a 7.7% double IPA.
Yeah.
I figured when I saw this on the shelf, I'm like, that sounds pretty good. I feel like Austin would like that. So I think we need to crack these open.
Yeah, I can't wait. This one is definitely, you gave me the choice. We had two different options. One was a Czech lager, and then there was this double IPA. And I was like, Evan, I know you gave me a choice, but let's be real here. There's not really a choice.
There was no actual choice. It was just, we're going to drink the double IPA.
That was a really good pour, Ev. I'm proud of you. You're getting so much better.
Wow, I was better than you this time.
Yeah, I think so. Although I am getting really annoyed when I have a really good pour and there's a lot of decent foam at the top. It just gets right in the mustache there. It's not.
I don't have
fun.
that problem.
Yeah. Well, you should grow a mustache.
I'll work on it over the summer.
All right, Skol. Let's try this one out.
Yeah, I like that.
You can taste the heaviness of the high alcohol content.
It's a little boozy,
but I still think it's really good beer.
It's clean. It's got a really clean finish. It's got that like golden type finish. It's not quite ambery, but it's not a hazy IPA.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I really like it, and I especially appreciate how low key it is.
Yeah.
Like it's not in your face. It's not super florally or anything. Not that I have anything against that, but it's just like easy drinking. I almost get, there's some sweetness in there too. There's like on the aftertaste, there's almost like a caramelly type sweetness to it as well. Are you getting that?
But like you said, not like ambery or anything. Just a nice sweetness at the end there. It's nice. A little hoppy, not crazy hoppy, but enough to be like, oh yeah, there's the hop flavor. if you know what that boozy flavor is, then you'd know what I mean when I say it's a little boozy, but I think that adds to the flavor. I like that a lot. Yeah, I mean, it's not what I expected it would. I expected it to look like orange juice. It almost kind of looks like a lager.
It kind of like, it looks like a Bud Light almost.
Yeah,
it's like
just
like what you would see in a Bud Light commercial.
But it does not taste like a Bud Light. It tastes so much better. I like this one a lot. I'm excited for the next couple. Thank you for bringing this one, and thank you Lake Time out of Clear Lake, Iowa, for brewing this one. Yeah, maybe someday we can say thank you for providing this one, but this one was on us today. So.
It was on me.
It was on it.
It was on me. Well, we'll enjoy a couple here. We also have a long list of things to talk about because we haven't been here in this spot for a couple of weeks now, and there have been some pretty big developments in the last couple of weeks in Vikings world. So
right about the time that news kind of slows down, there have been, like you said, a few things that have happened that are worth talking about.
Yeah. You want to start us off with the kind of maybe one of the biggest ones in terms of like the Vikings franchise as a whole? Yeah.
So a little bit of somber news here. Jim Marshall, Purple People leader, legendary Viking. I believe he's in the Ring of Honor for the Vikings. Tragically, he is not in the Hall of Fame yet, but unfortunately, maybe this news might be a little bit of a kickstart to make that happen. But yeah, Jim Marshall, he passed away a handful of days ago. But I didn't realize he was like, how old was he? 87?
He was really old. Those Purple People eaters are getting up there, and honestly, I wasn't surprised when I saw the news, and we're not breaking any news here. I mean, this is almost a week old at this point, probably. But yeah, he was 87 years old. But I think he was the heart and soul of that Purple People Eaters defense. Like, he was just the heartbeat of it. And of course, he was infamous for that wrong way Marshall play where he scooped up a fumble and ran the wrong way into the Vikings' own end zone, and ended up, did that play end up being a safety?
Yeah, I don't remember how that was scored. But yeah, that definitely didn't end up working out for the Vikings, but it's one of those, that's probably one of like the first Vikings history stories I remember hearing about. Like,
but I think other than that, like, his reputation was like revered as he was one of the best defensive players in the history of the league. Like, he was just so good, so ruthless, so just every play he was there, and he was going to be in the backfield doing something. So
you were right. I looked it up. It ended up being a safety. The Vikings were playing the 49ers in that game, and he spiked the ball, and the ball went out of the back of the end zone because he thought he just scored a touchdown. I mean, I would too. But I wonder how many 49ers were chasing after him, trying to tackle him, not realizing, he's going the wrong way. There had to have been at least one, right? But yeah, you're right. He was the heart and soul. To hear after he passed, the Vikings put out some media clips and stuff, and talking to some other Purple People eaters and other players from that time, and all of them said similar things. Great guy, great football player, great teammate, great leader, heart and soul of the team. And it really is a tragedy that he is not yet in the Hall of Fame. I don't understand. He's famous for, at the time, having the longest streak of consecutive games played, maybe even games started. I don't know the exact stat, but yeah, consecutive games played. He started 277.
Wow.
Total, and I think the streak, I don't remember exactly what the streak was, but I think Brett Favre was the one to end up going on and breaking that record. It was 270 that he started straight. That's insane.
That's a lot of games.
At defensive tackle, it's not like he was, a kicker that never gets touched. He started at a position that gets beat down, whether you're in 1960 or 2019. Like, it doesn't matter what era. Defensive tackle has always been a beaten player every single play. Great player, and it's unfortunate, but maybe his passing and putting him into the limelight a little bit will kickstart a potential Hall of Fame run. Though I know the team, I hear it from the Vikings every year, like, let's get Jim Marshall in the Hall of Fame. He deserves it.
I think it's a shame that he wasn't inducted into the Hall while he was still alive. Yeah. I think that he would have been honored to receive that distinction. And I think it was well deserved, and I think he's one of the most deserving players that didn't get inducted while he was still alive. So hopefully it happens now that he's passed. But man, he was a heck of a player, and even the inspiration for a character on one of our favorite TV shows, How I Met Your Mother, Marshall. The character named Marshall was named after Jim Marshall, and he wore a number 70 jersey with the name Marshall on the back in a handful of episodes. So,
importantly, a retired number 70.
Yes, one of 6 in franchise history to be retired,
and that might be it. Like, the Vikings haven't retired a number, I don't think, since was Corey Stringer the most recent retired number the Vikings have had.
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe Chris Carter. I don't remember how that timeline worked out.
I think it went Chris Carter, then Corey Stringer.
Yeah. So, but not since. It's been 20 plus years. Maybe 25 plus years at this point. But yeah, I did tweet out something that's probably kind of cheesy and maybe won't catch on. I don't know how great of an idea it is, but I said the Vikings shouldn't have captains anymore. They shouldn't have team captains anymore. They should have team marshals.
I don't think that was that cheesy.
Yeah.
I think actually that was a good idea, and a great way to honor a guy who embodied what it meant to be a captain.
Yeah.
What it meant to carry the torch for your team, to be a leader, to go out there and play 200 whatever games he played. No, I think that would be a great way for the team to honor him, in addition to having his number retired. Side note, really quick, we're not going to spend a ton of time talking about Aaron Rodgers because he's not on our list of things to talk about, but Aaron Rodgers did sign with the Pittsburgh Steelers, which is a kind of a sigh of relief for Vikings fans everywhere, because that means he won't be signing with the Vikings.
There
thankfully
might be some crazy Vikings fans out there. Let us know if you're one of them that are disappointed that Aaron Rodgers didn't sign with the team. No,
I'm not.
JJ all the way.
But interestingly enough, similar to what he did with the Jets, Aaron Rodgers will wear the number 8 in Pittsburgh. And I didn't know this, but nobody in Pittsburgh has worn the number 12 since Terry Bradshaw wore it. And it's not retired in Pittsburgh. The number 12 is still very much available, but it's I think it's one of those unspoken rules. And I think the same would be true of Jim Marshall. If the Vikings hadn't retired his number, I think it would be one of those just franchise unspokens, like you just don't take that number.
Well, and the Vikings kind of did that for almost a decade with the number 28.
Adrian Peterson.
I think this past season, 2024, was the first time somebody wore the number 28 officially on the field since Adrian Peterson did back in like 2016. I wish they would have done that unspoken thing with Randy Moss, but they seem to be happy to just throw that number at any mediocre wide receiver.
I think 84 is a little different. I think that would be different had he spent his whole career in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Obviously, he spent a bulk of his career in Minnesota and even came back to Minnesota after being gone for a while. I also think it'd be different with Randy if he didn't have such a loud personality and kind of a questionable demeanor while he was in the league. He was definitely, even while he was in college, he was the center of a lot of controversy, and he had lawsuits and stuff. And so, did you spill over there?
It was just a couple drops.
Oh, man.
I know. I don't even know if it's worth. Yeah, it's probably worth a paper towel.
We got some.
Well, not to besmirch the name of Jim Marshall by finishing that little segment with Aaron Rodgers, but rest in peace, Jim Marshall. Thoughts and prayers with him and his family. Truly a great Viking.
Yes, one of the greatest for sure. Hopefully, JJ McCarthy is amongst that echelon of Vikings players someday, and he seems to be off to a really good start in his, what I'm going to continue to call his red shirt rookie year. He obviously was injured at pretty much, well, I guess we could say the end of preseason.
It was during the first preseason game, like a couple days later, that it was announced. But
anyways, he sat out all of the 2024 regular season, and he's been in recovery mode ever since, and he's allegedly been lighting it up in OTAs.
Well, if you believe that one Twitter account that just tweets things that are not true just for clout, they tweeted and said something like, "Oh, he just threw his 50th
touchdown and
breaking all these records." That's not true. I think we touched on that a couple of weeks ago. But I guess from what everybody's saying is he is looking pretty decent. How is you remember back like 10 years ago, the phrase was, "Hey, how's Teddy look?" Now it's, "How's JJ look?" And apparently he's looking pretty good. I'm excited. I'm not shocked. Friend of the show, Forrest, he's an avid Michigan Wolverines fan. So for JJ's entire, I think, did he leave early? Was it his junior year that his last year in college when JJ and Harbaugh went on to win the national championship? That whole year, just being good friends with Forrest, I was aware of the Michigan Wolverines. I'll never say I'm a fan of them. I'm a Hawkeye fan, but I paid attention and was aware of JJ McCarthy. We talked about him on the show before he was ever a Viking. Yeah, I'm excited for this dude. I can't wait to see him play. Can't wait to see him get on the field and actually lead the team. I want to see his highs. I want to see his lows. I'm ready. I've been ready for the Vikings to draft their guy and have a good quarterback that is a Viking through and through my whole life. And we thought Christian Ponder was going to be that. We thought Teddy Bridgewater was going to be that. For a little bit, I thought they were going to force that situation and make Kirk Cousins that. But really, Dante Culpepper is the only one in my fanhood lifetime that I've seen that can kind of say he was on that trajectory until he disintegrated his knee. So I'm excited for JJ.
I saw Dante visited practice the other day. I thought that was kind of cool. I also saw a really cool video of JJ throwing an absolute dime to Jordan Addison in practice, and Harrison Smith was covering Addison, or was the safety on the play. I doubt he was the initial coverage. I think Addison probably blew up the coverage, and Harrison Smith was the last line of defense. But Jordan Addison scored a touchdown on Harrison Smith, and that just got me thinking, like, man, like, if Harrison Smith is outwitted by these guys, if he can't get his corners in the right position, or if Josh Metellus or whoever is, calling those shots on the defensive side of the ball in practice, if they're struggling this early, I don't know. I like our chances. I like this offense, and I'm excited to see what happens. Yeah, for sure.
And it all goes with JJ and really with Kevin O'Connell, but JJ is the one on the field doing the thing. So let's hope that stays true, and let's hope JJ is the guy, because I don't think any of us want to see Sam Howell for any period of time, or Brett Rippon. Kudos to them.
Did you see the video of JJ throwing a football at Sam Howell and hitting him in the head? Yeah. He's got some accuracy. Like the kid's got accuracy.
I feel like he wasn't trying to hit his teammate.
He did,
but he definitely hit him.
So let me ask you this question: is all of this hype? Is it real? Like because I feel like at this point in the off season, mid to late June, every team is like, oh man, everybody's healthy. The sky's the limit. We're going to win the Super Bowl. Everybody showed up to OTAs. We don't have any weird contract. I mean, there are some teams with some weird contract negotiations and stuff going on, but like a lot of teams have a lot of optimism swirling around them right now. Is the optimism around the Vikings real? Is it legit?
I think we have reasons to believe that we can be excited and actually be excited. I think KOC's track record so far is enough for us to say, like, I mean, we don't know how 2025 is going to go yet, but we know the head coach is a solid and good head coach. You don't accidentally win Coach of the Year in the NFL. It'd be different if we were sitting here like, how did he win that award? Like, I know the media said he was good, but we thought he was terrible. No, we're sitting here thinking he is amazing. And if you go back to like some of our first episodes, we're not complaining about the things with Kevin O'Connell now that we used to. It used to be, he's good, but like clock management's terrible.
Yeah, game management.
He's working on. He's still not like, he won't go in the Hall of Fame for his game management yet, but we're not complaining about that as much anymore. He is the QB whisperer. I heard him on the Power Trip morning show within the last couple of weeks saying he kind of hates that name, but it's a name for a reason. Like, he is a QB whisperer. Look what he did with Sam Darnold. Look what he'll hopefully do with JJ McCarthy. So there's a couple of things to say, like, this is why you can actually be excited. But ultimately, like I said a few minutes ago, the buck stops with JJ. The team will go wherever JJ goes. And I mean, he hasn't proven anything yet. We can see all the OTA highlights we want. We can get excited about that half of a preseason game that he played almost a year ago now. And we can get excited that he won a national championship in college. But ultimately, with the Vikings, he's never taken a snap in the regular season. So we don't know. So right now, I'd say be excited. I'm excited. But also be real, because it's not like we're coming off a 3 Super Bowl trip run where it's like, yeah, I mean, they're still as good as they have been the last 3 Super Bowls. Like, we don't have that. It's all cautious optimism is what I would say. So be excited, but be realistic that there are some things we don't know yet.
I'm going to be a little more obnoxious with my optimism here, because I think there's a ton of reason to be optimistic. And I think I've said this before, like, I don't think I'm changing course really at all. And I'm going to take a page out of Dustin Baker's book. I think Dustin has said this with us on our show before. JJ doesn't have to play at a Patrick Mahomes level for the Vikings to be great this year. You have a completely rebuilt offensive line, and if Christian Darrisaw is as healthy as he is, which we're going to talk about here in a little bit, like, look out, because if he's in that starting lineup even in September, that offensive line really, takes a big leap forward from where it was expected to be. You have arguably the best receiver in football. Now you have a really good 2 running back system in the backfield with Aaron Jones leading the way and Jordan Mason coming in after a really solid career in San Francisco. I think, what did he play? 2 seasons in San Francisco?
2 or 3, yeah. The Niners season last year kind of fell apart, but once McCaffrey was officially down, their run game was still up to par for the most part, and because Jordan Mason was there picking up the slack. So I really like the upgrades that Kwesi has made. We're going to talk about him here in a little bit too. On the offensive side of the ball, and that's, the upgrades are great with the pieces that you already have in place, like Justin Jefferson, like a Christian Darrisaw, like a Brian O'Neill, like a TJ Hawkinson. We'll also talk about Josh Oliver here in a little bit. But then the defensive side too, like the additions of Jonathan Grenard and Andrew Van Ginkel, and then you have Dallas Turner kind of waiting in the wings. I think Brian Flores was quoted this week saying, like, of course Dallas Turner's going to be that number 3 guy because you see who he's sitting behind. I'm paraphrasing, but like, I think that's kind of the gist of what he was saying. Like, Dallas Turner is a good player. Have you seen pictures of Dallas Turner in the last handful of days?
No, I have not.
There's like one that's making the rounds, and I think it's like,
he just actually absolutely jacked, just ripped.
Yeah, he has taken the last couple of months and he was already like, he's an NFL first round pick athlete. But he has almost Daniil Hunterized himself. Like, dude is a monster. And to think, like, he's still going to be sitting behind 2 Pro Bowl Defensive Player of the Year worthy-ish players in Van Ginkel and Grenard, like, just to have that third option be Dallas Turner, like,
and then you've got the brains of Blake Cashman, who's calling all the shots. You have the veteran experience of Harrison Smith. You have the Swiss Army knife of Josh Metellus. Like, I'm just like,
let's kick off right now. Let's go.
Let's go. I'm excited. All of that to say, I think the optimism on both sides of the ball is warranted. And I don't know. I think with Kevin O'Connell's coaching experience, I'm looking at it right now. He has a .667 win percentage in the league. He wins 2/3 of the games that he coaches.
Yeah. And that's with half a season where his QB1 just suddenly disappeared.
That was with this revolving door of Josh Dobbs and
Jaron Hall and Nick Mullins.
All those guys. Yeah. So, like, and that was the season of Justin Jefferson was down for a while too. So KOC is a phenomenal coach. He's had an outstanding track record to start his coaching career in 3 seasons. Big upgrades on the offensive side of the ball, big upgrades in the past couple of seasons on the defensive side of the ball. I really think the optimism is warranted in, I don't know, I'm going to say, NFC North or bust at this point. Like, we better win the division and make the playoffs, and we better make a good run in the playoffs.
So simmer down a little bit, because, I mean...
I'm excited.
The division is still going to be a gauntlet. The Lions are still, we talk about them. They're going to take a step back. I'm the first one to say that because they're losing coaching. But until they prove that they're going to take a step back, they're still the team to beat in the division. The Packers are no joke. I mean, Matt LaFleur is a good coach. And Jordan Love has...
I don't think Jordan Love is the answer there.
He's not Aaron Rodgers, but he's also not Christian Ponder.
I'll make a hot take right now because I'm a beer and a half in on these 7.7s, and I'm ready to make a hot take. I'm going to make the hot take right now. JJ McCarthy outperforms Jordan Love.
All right, I'll hold you to that. I hope that happens, and I'm not saying you're wrong. I hope
maybe
that happens.
Maybe not this season because I have to clarify.
We're already taking a backpedal here,
but I think eventually JJ McCarthy will outperform Jordan Love.
All right.
I haven't seen enough out of Jordan Love to think that he's Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I mean, well, nobody's Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers. But to backpedal a little bit too, Lions are still the team to beat in the North. Packers are no slumps, and the Bears.
The Bears are on the up and up for sure.
They're on the up and up. Before everything fell apart for them last year, they started 4-2, and that's with Eberflus. That's with a very young Caleb Williams. And now you insert the brains of the Lions offense the last few years with Caleb Williams is still #1 pick worthy. He would have been the first overall pick in this previous draft. Like, there's not many drafts he wouldn't have been the first overall pick. The Bears are something to be reckoned with as things sit right now. But so are the Vikings. So the NFC North was potentially the best division in football last season, and all they did was lose every playoff game that all 3 teams went to.
Except for the Lions, they beat the Vikings.
Well, no, the Vikings lost to the Rams in the playoffs.
Oh, yeah, you're
right.
The
Lions' first playoff game was against the Commanders in the division.
And they lost that.
And they lost. So
you're right.
I'm excited to go all the way back to your first question. Yes, the hype is real. Be excited. But you never know. JJ could tear his other knee again. You never know, and that would be devastating. And then I don't even know what the Vikings would do, because I don't think you go into a full season knowing that Sean May or what's even not even Sam Sean Howell. Sam Howell, that he's your QB1. Like, I think if the exact same thing happened in the preseason this year as what happened last year, first game, JJ's got some knee soreness. Oh no, he's out for another year. The Vikings aren't rolling with the quarterback. The QB1 will not have been on this roster already.
Well, that's where they're going to
traded for somebody.
That's where they're going to explore. Like, okay, did Flacco get let go? Did Shedeur Sanders get let go by the Browns?
Oh man, that would be terrible.
Who's available? Yep. Who's who? Can we pry Tom Brady away from Fox?
He's an owner. He can't play.
Well, can he sell his ownership like
for one season with the Vikings?
I don't know. Anyways, I'm excited. There's a ton of optimism, not just around JJ McCarthy, but around the entire team. And I think he's at the core of it because he's young, he's exciting, he's killing it right now.
Seems like the real deal.
Yep.
Another guy that we know is the real deal, and apparently is way healthier than we thought he was, is Christian Darrisaw. So this whole time, I've been operating assuming Christian Darrisaw's injury was basically the same as what TJ Hawkinson had the year before, and that we didn't see TJ Hawkinson until, like, when was it? Like week 8, 9, 10? It was later in the season, second half of the season for sure. And even then, it took him a minute to kind of warm up. I don't think he caught a touchdown last year. Like, it was a pretty hefty injury. FU Lions defensive back, who is not even important enough for me to remember his name, but even though he's dirty, I was thinking Christian Darrisaw's injury was going to be very similar to TJ Hawkinson's. So I didn't expect to see Darrisaw on any football field until mid-season, and here he is. It's limited. It's only in individual drills, but he's helmet on, shoulder pads on, leg wrapped up, but he's participating in practice right now. Like, that's insane to me, and I couldn't be happier.
And I think part of that has to do with the fact that at his position, there's there's less left to right movement that he has to do. Whereas, like, TJ Hawkinson, you rely on the ability, especially as one of the more elite pass catching tight ends in the league, you rely on your ability to plant your foot in the ground and be able to move east and west.
Yeah, it's still a playmaker position.
And I think when you're on the line, whether it's offense or defense, you're more north-south. You know, you're getting pushed forward or you're getting pushed backwards, and you just have to overpower the other guy that you're matched up against. And I think if you're Darrisaw, you are matched up usually against two guys. You've got a guy on your left and a guy on your right because you're helping the tackle with somebody. I have a good...
You're moving your hands forward and back.
I'm good.
Really close to your beer. So I got you.
I appreciate the backup.
I was holding your beer, making sure it was okay.
Hold my beer. No, but I think... I'm excited that he's back, and that he's healthy enough to be moving around like he was in practice. I don't know that we're gonna see him in a game situation early.
Yeah, I mean,
I would still expect him to be out for a while.
He could still start, I think, training camp on the PUP list, the physically unable to perform list. That still could happen. I mean, he could be in this, off to the side doing individual drills situation for months now. We don't know, but it's still very encouraging that in early June, the Vikings, he's healthy enough and the Vikings are comfortable enough to let him go out there, and they're comfortable enough, so comfortable that the team's app
about it.
Yeah, they're tweeting about it, and their app sent out like a push notification, like, "Hey, Darrisaw's back on the practice field." They didn't say, "Yeah, he's 100%." Nobody has said that yet, and I don't think that's true. But for such a devastating injury to his knee, it's very encouraging to see him on the field and running around. They did make a handful of moves at the tackle position to kind of help themselves, but it's not like they went and made sure that they overpaid Cam Robinson another $14 million to make sure he stays so that he's insurance there. I don't know if they tried to do that. They may have. It would have been dumb for them not to at least explore that, but they didn't do it. And they made a couple of backup worthy moves at tackle. But yeah, I'm excited to see Darrisaw moving so well so early, and yeah, we'll see where it goes from here.
Yeah, and I think his health will impact the overall success of the offense and the offensive line specifically. Not to say that the other guys can't hold it down until he comes back, but I think once he comes back, this offensive line will be arguably one of the best, if not the best in the league.
Yeah, and the Vikings made a lot of moves, or two very massive moves, and one big investment in a first-round draft pick to make sure that this offensive line looks night and day better in 2025 than it did in 24, and it wasn't the last ranked offensive line in the league in 24, but it was bad enough that the Vikings are immediately replacing at least 3 of the 5 positions, which is no small feat, and they've made big investments to do that, and I couldn't be happier. And JJ McCarthy probably is jumping for joy for all that too.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, you've got a 10-year veteran center that's going to be snapping him the ball, and Ryan Kelly, and then you've got Will Fries on one side, and who's on the other side?
First round pick Donovan Jackson.
So yeah, you got to feel pretty good about that. And then you got Brian O'Neill on the right side, and then you've got possibly Darrisaw if he's healthy coming back. Like, your left tackle is almost, especially as a right-handed quarterback, one of the most important guys on the field to protect your blind side, as we know.
Where'd you get that information from there?
I don't know. Maybe this one movie called Blind Side.
Sandra Bullock in Blind Side, starting off the movie explaining why left tackle was important.
But I feel like I knew it before then anyway, so it doesn't matter. But anyways, I'm excited about this offensive line, and Darrisaw being back and healthy only makes that offensive line better and stronger.
Yep.
So I'm pumped.
Yeah. Well, someone else who's back, even though he never left, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah signed a contract extension. I don't know if they publicly announced how long his extension's for.
I don't know.
I'm assuming it's probably in line with KOC. In the infamous unrecorded interview I had with Dustin Baker a handful of weeks back, I did ask him, like, if Kwesi does sign, because this was before Kwesi signed, I asked Dustin if he thought, would it be like a 1 year, like, okay, give us, let us see for one more year if you're really the real deal, or will it be longer? And his answer was pretty much like, I think if they sign him, or really when they sign him, it'll be in tandem with KOC, and they'll be tied together years wise no matter what. So that's what I'm assuming. I think people have even kind of reported that out, that it might be that long, through 2028 or 2029 for both of them. What are your thoughts? Are you excited Kwesi's back?
Oh, I'm pumped. I think for as much flack as he gets in the draft, I think he makes up for in free agency and just other trades and moves that he makes, like going out and getting the Pastronaut not this past season, but 2 years ago. Like, that was a move that he orchestrated, and he did beautifully. Like, he got Josh Dobbs for next to nothing, and we got 2 wins out of that guy before everything crashed and burned.
And it was so fun.
And it was fun for fans. I don't know how fun it was for the team. I think it was kind of fun for the team for like a couple of days.
That 2.5 weeks of the Pastronaut era, or really just 6 quarters, had to have been the most fun time to be a Viking in a long time.
But I think not just him, but bringing Sam Darnold in, like, there was that whole thing. I think he and KOC have a really good connection, and I think he trusts KOC, and I think Kevin O'Connell trusts Kwesi. And if Kevin O'Connell goes to him and says, "Hey, I see a lot of potential in this quarterback. I think we should go after this guy," they go after him, and that's the trust that Kwesi has in KOC. Like, okay, if my head coach thinks highly of this guy, we're going to go after this guy. And I think that's why they traded up to go. Did they trade up to get JJ McCarthy?
They had 11. They traded up one spot to get 10.
Yep.
Because who was it at 10? The Jets, I believe, were at 10. And there may have been some showmanship going on there, but they solidified and guaranteed themselves by moving one spot up.
Yep. They got their guy. And I think that was because he trusted KOC. Like, we want this guy, and we're going to guarantee that we get him. And he doesn't just appease the head coach, who we know is an offensive-minded guy, but he thinks of the whole picture. And the Dallas Turner trade to go, trade up and get Dallas Turner in the first round of the draft 2 years ago. All of the moves that he made this offseason to go get the offensive lineman and defensive lineman, both KOC and Kwesi had this united front at the end of the season. We're going to solidify the trenches. We're going to solidify the trenches. And then sure enough, what did they do in free agency? And we just got done talking about it. They solidified the trenches. And
we haven't even talked about the 2 defensive tackles they signed too. Hargrave and is it Allen?
Jonathan Allen. So like he puts his money where his mouth is, and he gets players to Minnesota. And
I think
he's the right guy for the job for now.
I would tend to agree. I might be a little less on fire for him as you are, but I'm happy they extended him. I'm glad he's, the GM of the Vikings, and I think he's made a lot of fantastic moves. So you can't deny that. I think that first draft, a lot of people, and maybe myself included, that first draft was so bad that people, like I said, maybe even including myself, put more weight on that bad draft than they should. Lewis Seen, that drafting him as your first move isn't a fireable offense, but if he were to do that kind of horrific move now, that's enough. Like once you're an established GM, you can't do that. Dustin Baker, say his name again, he's real quick to point out that who's the Eagles GM? Howie Roseman, is that who it is? Right now highly regarded as probably the best GM in football. His first few drafts apparently were pretty awful, and it took him a minute to figure out. I think everything about Kwesi has gotten better and better. I think he's even said, you grow personally and professionally, and Kwesi's never one to run away from, moves that weren't so great, like Lewis Seen or, some other things. But the pros so much outweigh the cons with Kwesi. And you could also be somebody that doesn't like him and you put all the success of the Vikings on KOC's shoulders, or Brian Flores, or who would have known that Ivan Pace would have turned out to be a starter level, middle linebacker. But ultimately, who's making those decisions? Who hired KOC? Who's giving the okay to not only hire Brian Flores, but fight to make sure he is financially compensated enough to not try to leave for every head coaching job out there right away? Who signs the undrafted free agents, even though the scouts are telling him, this is what I know? He's ultimately the one making all these moves. So in Kwesi, we trust. If I had to give like a 0 to 100 score of how confident I am in Kwesi right now, I'm probably in the mid 80s. Low to mid 80s. You'd probably be like high 80s, low 90s, maybe. I'm guessing.
I would give him an A. I think he's a solid A.
Yeah,
for sure.
And as of now, I'm not trying to see let's see how he does this year, and then he's fired. I'm not even in that. His seat is not even warm for me.
And as you were fleshing out some of those things, something I wondered, especially with his first draft, is how much of the old mindset from the Browns carried over to his job in Minnesota. I can speak from experience, when I've moved from job to job, when I've transitioned from organization to organization, some of the bad habits and some of the mindset of, even if they weren't bad necessarily, it's just this is the way we did it over here, and now I'm transitioned over here, and this is the way we do it now. It takes me a while to adjust, and I wonder if that was maybe the case. Not excusing completely the tank job that was his first draft in Minnesota, but I wonder if there was some of that. I've never been a part of an organization where ownership actually cares, and ownership actually interacts with me and wants me to succeed and wants the organization to succeed and doesn't just care about themselves.
And the bottom line.
I don't know a ton about the Browns, but I know that from the top down, the Browns as an organization has been kind of a mess.
They're a dumpster fire,
and there needs to be some changes there. And I don't know, I'm happy right now with ownership. I think the Wilfs have a good grasp on things in Minnesota. I think they hired one of the better GMs in the league to lead the way, and they've got one of the better head coaches in the league to lead the players in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm excited from top down in this organization to see what happens in the next couple of years.
Yeah. I use this phrase about my kids a lot. But whenever they're doing something that isn't overly dangerous or anything, because I would put the kibosh on that real quick. But if they're doing something that I'm he's swinging that thing around, he might bonk himself in the head. My first thought is always let him. He might hit himself in the head. He might get hurt. He might cry for a minute, but he's going to be fine. And if he wasn't going to be fine, I'd step in again. But I always say some lessons you can only teach yourself. And maybe Lewis Seen, for not to totally crap on Lewisine for 20 minutes, but maybe for Kwesi, Lewisine was a lesson he can only teach himself.
It's only been like 10 minutes, but that's fine.
But I'm pretty sure Lewisine has a Super Bowl ring at this point, so who cares? But yeah, some lessons Kwesi can only teach himself, and if you eventually win a playoff game or 2 or 4 and ultimately the championship, you take the highs with the lows. And we've gotten a lot more highs with Kwesi than lows.
And I think he's improved drafting.
That's
always been a knock on him, and I think that first draft will always be something that's held against him, unfortunately. But I don't know. I think he's improved that way, and he shines in free agency. He just absolutely shines. Like he knows who to call. Like he's a Billy Bean. He's a
we gotta do it.
I gotta bring it in. I gotta bring it in here, man. Like people out there will know it's a connection. If you're a sports fan and you love movies, you're gonna know the Billy Bean Moneyball connection.
Okay.
It's there.
Moneyball is definitely a movie.
It's your fault for not watching it more.
I've watched enough. I've seen it the appropriate amount of times. Once.
No, you should watch it way more than once.
I don't need to. Good. I don't need to.
I started showing it to my students at school.
Yeah, good for you. And I'm sure they love you for that.
Yeah.
I'm sure they go home and talk about how much they rave about Mr. So-and-so for making us watch this super boring movie about baseball. I'm sorry. Not to crap on something you love for 20 minutes.
Anyways, all that to say,
Kwesi is better than Billy Bean.
I think he probably is, and I think he takes those principles and he applies them in the NFL in a way that's meaningful and in a way that gets results. And I think we've seen that. I don't think KOC is as successful in his first 3 years as a coach without KOC. I don't think the Vikings win 7 games 2 seasons ago when Kirk got hurt and JJ got hurt. That is Justin Jefferson. Without all of the stuff that happened behind the scenes with Kwesi. Like he brought in Josh Dobbs and he continued to work behind the scenes to make the team better, not just with the Josh Dobbs trade. I think that's the most obvious one. But Kwesi wasn't the only one to get an extension recently, though.
Yeah, so, he's the one I'm more excited about. But who else got signed?
So Josh Oliver got another contract extension. I did not catch all the details. You might be able to kind of quickly Google the details of his contract, but it's not a small contract extension. 3 years.
3 years worth. This just quickly says worth more than $23 million. So
okay.
What are your thoughts on that one? I
think he is a really good tight end too. Maybe one of the better tight end 2 guys in the league. So to solidify that behind TJ is really good. He's also a great run blocking tight end.
That's his bread and butter.
That's his calling card. And so especially with the added firepower in the background with Jordan Mason, you've got Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason now. I would expect to see a lot of Josh Oliver on the field in some of those run packages to protect for him. Not to say that TJ is bad in those situations. I think he holds his own. But I think we'll see a lot more of Josh Oliver in some of those situations, and he can still catch the ball. And I think he's good in those situations as well. I think he's a decent route running, ball catching tight end as well. So and I like the continuity, and this was something that friend of the show Dustin Baker pointed out in an article about this move particularly. TJ and Josh coming back, it brings this level of continuity. There's not a lot of change there. These guys have worked together now for a while, and the tight end coaches know them. Kevin O'Connell is the offensive coordinator, not offensive coordinator,
head
but
coach,
who calls the offensive plays, knows them, knows their strengths and weaknesses, knows when to put them in, when to sit them. I don't know. I like it. I think it was a good move. Maybe on the higher end for a tight end too in terms of price tag, but I don't know. I feel like the Vikings had a little bit more money to spend, and I think they spent it in a pretty decent spot.
Yeah, I mean, I not mad that Josh Oliver, the tight end, is on the team. Everything we've heard about him, I'm not an analyst enough to know if it's totally true, but everything we've heard about him is that he's the best run blocking tight end in the league, or one of, he's up there. And I've never been complaining about his receiver skills. He's never been crazy. The most catches he's had in a season are 22. And he's had 2 seasons with 22 catches. And he's never had a ton of drops, catches a couple touchdowns a year. But for me, and again, this might be one of those areas where I'd be a terrible GM and a terrible head coach. I fully recognize that. But for me, that's too much money. That is too much money to spend on a position where you don't need to do that. I think the Vikings, I would have been happier if they gave up draft capital to get the... who's it, Michael Mayer, from the backup tight end from Vegas. Now, if they were looking for like a first and a second round pick, something crazy, like, okay. But yeah, I feel like for Oliver's role in the Vikings, where he's like one great Justin Jefferson game will eclipse Josh Oliver's entire season statistically. And you can't really measure the impact of great run blocking other than are the Vikings able to run the ball. But I feel like for almost $20 million guaranteed, max of $27.5 million over 3 years for a tight end I don't know. I don't totally agree with it. He might be the best person in the world. He might be the best blocking tight end in the world. I don't know.
He definitely played better last year than he did in his first year with the Vikings 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And that was obviously due to the absence of TJ for most of the season. But even then, he only scored 3 touchdowns. But I think probably in a similar amount of games and a similar amount of starts, or actually I think he started more games than TJ did last year at that tight end 1 position. Like, he was still more productive, and to be productive and to help your team to 14 wins in a pretty critical position. I mean, I wouldn't say tight end is the most important. I think obviously the quarterback is the most important, and then you're looking at wide receivers and running backs after that, and then you're looking at tight ends. And in the mix there, I think, is your offensive line, because you've got to have protection for everybody. But I think to do what he's done, to average, what has he averaged? 11.7 yards per reception last year. He had 17 yards a game and 9.2 yards per target. Like, those are pretty decent numbers for a tight end, I think.
Yeah, but that's NFL. Also out of 22 catches. I think, their Pro Football Reference has that approximate value score, which is just a number that they assign a player per season. He had an approximate value of a 2 last year, and a 2 the year before, and a 1, 1, and then 0. That's his entire career in season breakdown. You can replace a 2 with less than $30 million over 3 years. But I just feel like it was a luxury that the Vikings didn't have to splurge on.
But would you replace a guy who's familiar with the system with someone who doesn't know the system, doesn't know the culture?
I think that might be a little overrated, and here's why.
Okay.
Do you remember in 2009, week 3, the Vikings were down, I believe, by 4. One final drive. They started marching down the field, and then out of nowhere, Favre jukes left, jukes right, makes a man miss, throws a prayer up to the back of the end zone, and by the tippiest of his toes, Greg Lewis gets his feet in, hands on the ball, catches the game winner. It's caught, Greg Lewis! Oh my heavens! You remember that? Do you remember that? Did I describe it well enough?
That memory is etched in my forever.
Yeah.
Yes, it's there.
Favre and Greg Lewis neither of them were in training camp for the Vikings that year. Ultimately, like a lot of time in training camp. They were both late additions to the Vikings season that year. Both of them. That wasn't Greg Lewis' only catch. Yeah, he wasn't a 1,000-yard receiver that year. And it's Brett Favre, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. But I think that kind of debunks the whole, like, he's in the locker room the whole time. He knows the culture. Like, football players play football, and especially at tight end too. That's not the biggest of worries for me.
And I would offer a rebuttal to your counterclaim that first of all, Brett Favre was notorious for taking risks, and most of the time those risks didn't turn out for him.
Lots of times.
I think the Greg Lewis situation was one of those times where it did work out.
Absolutely.
One of the few times that it did work out for him. And to your point, Greg Lewis didn't go on to do anything the rest of that season, really. Like, yeah, sure, he had maybe a few other catches and maybe another touchdown or two. But I'm thinking, like, longevity of TJ in his role and the fact that he's already been injured once, and if he gets injured again,
you're right.
Josh Oliver filled in admirably for TJ when he was hurt. And did we have to bring in, like, Johnny Mundt and... Who else came in?
Sorry, I was laughing because I looked up Greg Lewis's stats. Dude in 2009 had...
Did he have one touchdown? Was that his only touchdown?
He had 8 catches for 96 yards and 1 touchdown.
Greg Lewis, oh my heavens. That's your only touchdown this season. Congratulations. Like...
That was his only Vikings touchdown ever. He was with them for 2 years, and
Josh Oliver has 5 touchdowns.
Yeah, with the Vikings.
And
yeah, if it's a guy that's going to be playing, and tight end 2 probably plays quite a bit more than like left guard 2. But it's still, if this number were more like 20 than 30 over 3 years, I'd feel better about it.
I get the price tag concern. I think the Vikings also, and this goes back to Kwesi a little bit. Kwesi kind of maybe backed himself into a corner in terms of cap space. I think as of right now, the Vikings have like 18 mil in cap space.
Yeah, which that's probably, unless they sign a defensive back or something, or have to sign somebody out of desperation because of injury, they're probably not using that. That's probably going to get rolled over because next year's cap space is like New Orleans Saints level terrible. They're going to need to make some cap saving moves here a year from now, less than a year from now, to survive in 2026. But yeah, what were you saying?
Well, I just think, I don't know. I like the Josh Oliver move, especially if you're not going to use up all of your cap space this year. Like, why not? Why not honor a guy who's been a part of the organization for a couple of years now, who's worked hard, and who filled in admirably for your injured TE1, and took over as TE1 for a while there and did well, played well. Was he TJ? No, he was not that, and he's not the route runner that TJ is. He's not the pass blocker that TJ is. He run blocks well. He can run routes well, yes, and I think he's a valuable asset to the Vikings, and I think. In my opinion, he was worth the price tag, especially considering the fact that the Vikings probably aren't going to spend a whole lot of money on anything else this year.
Yeah, and all of what you just said, totally true. I completely agree with all of it about Oliver, the tight end, Oliver, the Viking, Oliver, the football player. What I don't agree with is the dollar value being worth it. But I mean, it is what it is. That's why we're not the decision makers for the team. One thing we definitely don't agree on, and sorry if I'm moving on too early, is there's a certain Pro Bowl level cornerback that was released from his NFC North team this week, that a lot of people are saying the Vikings should go get Jaire Alexander now that he's a free agent.
Did you say we wouldn't agree on this?
I don't think we're going to agree on... Wait. Oh, we might agree on this. I've read the notes wrong.
I think we might agree on this.
I think we agree on it.
I think we might agree on this because I don't want to see Jaire Alexander in purple. I just don't want to see it.
Neither do I.
And it has... I mean, we've lived this story a few times now in our past. Like... Brett Favre becoming a Viking. We had to endure that. Aaron Jones becoming a Viking. We had to endure that as well. Both of those turned out to be pretty good. I don't think Jaire Alexander is a good fit for the locker room, for the defensive squad, just for the Vikings, period. I think he kind of has this cancerous type of vibe around him. He's a big talker. He's very arrogant, and he talks a big game, and he really rarely backed that up, especially against some elite wide receivers like, I don't know, Justin Jefferson.
So we've got Caitlin Clark, women's basketball player, Hawkeye, Indiana player, lighting the WNBA on fire, gave that whole league legitimacy. Who's the like the villain to her? She plays for Chicago. I don't remember her name. But she's the one that's like, people watch because of me too. It's not Chicago Fire. That's a soccer team, and I'm very upset that I know that's a soccer team. Anyways, there's the one other kind of obnoxious women's basketball player that's the opposite of
Angel Reese.
There it is. Jaire Alexander reminds me of Angel Reese.
That's a good comparison, actually.
Maybe it's unfair, but
I can see that. I think Angel Reese is Angel Reese, and Jaire Alexander wishes he could be the Angel Reese of the NFL.
I mean, don't knock it though, because Jaire has made a couple of Pro Bowls. I think Jaire, the cornerback, the football player, anybody should be happy with him on the field wearing your team's colors. Jaire, the teammate and the locker room presence, that's why he's a free agent right now. He's not good in the locker room. He completely dodged Justin Jefferson the last 2 or 3 times they played each other. He's just not someone that will fit into a good culture.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the last 2 seasons for him, he's only played 7 games. 7 games in each of the last 2 seasons. So he doesn't even have a full season under his belt in the last 2 years in terms of games played. The last time he played a full season was 2022, and that was the last time he was a Pro Bowler. I think there's a lot of talent there.
But you can't argue with that.
But I think the talent is overcrowded by ego and by this like entitlement, like I play for the Packers and I'm really good, and
also he sounds like Kermit the Frog. Even more so than
worse than Patrick Mahomes. Yes, not to judge people based on the sound of their voice.
He was a Packer. I can judge him all I want. Judge me for my voice all you want to. So I'm sorry that I had that wrong. We agree that we don't want Alexander as a Viking. 1, because he'd be terrible in the locker room. The pros do not outweigh the cons with him. And 2, it's not like he'd be veterans minimum. Like, he'd be probably like what Stephon Gilmore cost last year, like $10-ish million. I'd rather Stephon Gilmore, who is also a free agent. But also, like, I don't know that the Vikings need to make a move. I mean, cornerback room, there's a lot of guys with potential, and really only one guy with Byron Murphy Jr. with actual like proof of being good. Everybody else is like, well, he could be good, or he kind of showed flashes, or he was injured, but he was supposed to be okay. But I'd rather roll with that. And then if you get 2-3 games in, and it's like, oof, they can't cover anything, then you make a move, and then you try to desperation trade for or sign someone.
And I think you've got some good stability already in the cornerback room. You have Byron Murphy coming back. Mekhi Blackman didn't play a lot because of injury. But
he was out all last year.
Coming back. And then Dwight McGlothern was around the team. I think he was more of a practice squad guy, right?
Yeah, but he got in a couple of games, and he's one of those like, he's got some decent upside, but he's not like Pro Bowl level worthy player yet.
But familiar with the system. And then you have the offseason signings of Jeff Okudah and Isaiah Rodgers coming in with 6 years and 5 years of experience.
Well, and Okudah was, I think, like the 3rd overall pick in the draft a handful of years ago. So there's potential there. And Isaiah Rodgers, I just saw today that Brian Flores, he was quoted saying something to the tune of, I've been following Isaiah Rodgers since he was in college, and I've been wanting to coach this guy ever since I first heard about him. Like, I'm super psyched to have him. Isaiah Rodgers could be a boomer bust kind of guy. Like, I think the only reason he's not already like upper echelon player in the league, if the talent's there, is because he was one of the Lions that got caught with the sports betting stuff, which don't do that. Like, if you play for professional sports or even amateur, like college, don't bet on sports. That can only be bad for you. I'm pretty sure that's because he was like suspended for a whole year. I think I saw him tweet today or sometime recently that he wears the number 2 right now because he got a second chance after being suspended. Like, okay, at least you can have that self-awareness. Like, yeah, I messed up. But even so, like we just said, the cornerback room really only has one dude that has proven anything. Everybody else is just upside, or, you know, could be good, or, you know, showing a couple of flashes. And I would still take all of that over signing Jaire Alexander.
Agreed. I think in the 10 guys that are listed as cornerbacks right now, June 11th, I'd take 4 or 5 of them over 5 Jaire Alexander.
Okay, all right.
So I think a lot of Vikings fans would probably resonate with that. Yeah, he's more of a problem than he's worth. And is he a good athlete? Yeah, he probably is. And does he have a lot of upside? Yeah, he probably does. But he also has a lot of potential to really drag down the progress that's been made in this defensive secondary, and I don't want that for this team. I want Brian Flores to lead this team into the black with ferocity, to quote Dwight Schrute from The Office.
Pounding the lectern. To put all of this in perspective, at work, one of my coworkers is from Wisconsin and a pretty diehard Packer fan, and we have a lot of fun conversations about that. But the other day I saw the tweet that's like, yeah, it sounds like the Packers are going to release Jaire Alexander. And I just called over to the cubicle down. I was like, hey, sounds like Alexander's getting cut. And almost before I finished saying the word cut, my coworker was like, good. He's a head case. Like, all right. And he's a diehard Packer fan. Like, okay, that tells me all I need to know.
That settles it. Like, even Packers fans don't really want him.
Yeah. So
he'll find a spot.
Yeah, he will.
I'm sure. And it seems like the Vikings just aren't interested at all at this point, which I'm 100% okay with. I think we're both 100% okay with that.
Don't sign him. Let him be somebody else's problem.
Yep. I think the Vikings will figure out their cornerback room through the rest of the offseason, training camp, preseason, all that. And
yeah,
I'm excited. I'm excited to see the product that ends up on the field with everything we've talked about, from the offensive side of the ball to the defensive side of the ball.
Should be a fun season.
It's going to be a good one.
Well, speaking of products, what were your final thoughts on this tight lines from Lake Time Brewery?
This one it's intense. Like, it's you better buckle up for a ride.
Yeah,
you know,
it's flavor wise, everything about it seems kind of mellow and pretty good, but like you're feeling it. 7.7 is no joke. Don't mess around with this.
Split a 6-pack with a buddy.
Yeah.
And you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Don't do a 6-pack on your own.
Yeah, you and I were going to be fine tonight.
Yeah.
Even after 3 of them. But yeah, I really like it. I could totally see if somebody doesn't like IPAs, them saying like, yeah, that wasn't my cup of tea. You're one that's kind of like hit or miss on IPAs. You don't mind them, but like it's not your favorite in the world. I feel like you kind of like it. Like,
yeah, I would definitely get this one again. I probably wouldn't go back time and time again to this one. This probably wouldn't be like a staple in my beer catalog, but it is good. And I like how easy drinking it is. It's not like in your face, super hoppy, florally. Like, it's not trying to be an IPA.
And you said it was intense, but I think that's just more because you can feel the 7.7.
Oh yeah, yes. The 7.7% is there, and it's real.
Yeah,
for sure.
I would go back to this one again. I probably will. I like it a lot. Everything you said about it, I'd agree. And yeah, I mean, the only reason I wouldn't grab this one is if I just had to make sure I was good the next day. Like this one, if you put a whole 6-pack down, it better be on a night where you can sleep in the next day. And there are definitely beers that are more potent than 7.7, but 7.7's up there. It's pretty solid. It's definitely holding its own.
For sure. Well, I liked this beer. I liked all of the stuff that we talked about. I felt like we had a lot to talk about tonight, especially after a couple of weeks off.
Yeah, I'm surprised by how much we've had to talk about. I don't think we're going to have this much to talk about here next week, but there's always stuff to talk about. The NFL is a year-round news source, so we'll figure it out, even if we have to go down the well of maybe we'll play some like games or something. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But yeah, it was a great beer, great episode.
Maybe best one yet.
Skol.
Skol.